Hi guys, how are you all?
Hey
Good, how
Josh,
are
good.
you?
Yeah, good, thank you. And thanks so much for taking the time today because this is such a thought-provoking film with the way
Mm.
it deals with what comes before life. But I was wondering, as actors who are getting so invested in these characters, is it hard for you to almost shake them off when you leave the project? Because
Mm.
I know this film stuck with me a long time after the credits rolled.
Yeah, I think with any project, it's hard to leave. Not just for the characters and the story, because that in itself, this was a really moving journey to be on. But also, I just get to know everybody. You become a found family for this short period of time,
Totally.
and then all of a sudden, it's like, all right, see you, maybe not, maybe see you again, like see you over Zoom during. That's always a weird feeling. So
I
that's the
think
bummer of this business.
that's been especially true, I think, with COVID because the film played at more festivals and I think it had actually a potential to do even more festivals and screenings. And even doing press, like when I realized I was like, I don't know if I'm going to see these people again, my heart sort of broke because we've been through this, incredible experience together creating this piece of art. And I'm really happy to see their faces today.
Yeah. Um, I agree with both. I love seeing you guys' faces also. When I approach characters, I can get really sad if I leave a character. So I try to realize that I'm just finding a new part of myself and that part is now with me. And so like that has helped me change how I view characters. So then I just feel like, oh, I've discovered Mike and now Mike is now a part of who I am. So every character I'm just discovering a new part of this infinite self that we all are. So that's helped me it's like a way I approach acting. So I don't get too sad, when I leave them. That makes sense.
Oh, amazing. And of course, the three of you being actors, you're used to being interviewed in scenarios like this. But in the context of the film, with Winston's character, it's obviously very intense and the
Mm.
subject matter is very serious, with you having to appeal for a chance to live. So was that quite surreal for the three of you? Did you find on set?
Yeah, I think I didn't know Winston at all, and so I just kind of let myself be Mike or with him, and I feel like I got to know him after shooting actually, because I feel like we were kind of maintained our distances. He has our whole fate of our lives in his hands, and I think as Mike, I'm terrified of him, and everyone has their own experience with him, but I think I look up to him. I don't even know what that means, but I think that did feel surreal. And also as an actor, I didn't know him until after. He's a beautiful soul. But when we first started shooting, I was kind of nervous around him. And I was like, oh, I'm just playing Mike. I'm like Mike's nervous around him and allowing those feelings to ferment.
We had some rehearsals which were really great. We discovered, I know I've
Mm.
certainly working with Winston in rehearsals discovered some things about the character and tapping into her. I sort of discovered a little bit of ambition in her and good student. She could kind of see through Winston or Will, his character, in some ways until she couldn't. So yeah, it's an interesting process. And Winston's a powerful, powerful actor and artist. It was wonderful to be able to collaborate with him.
Yeah, I forgot that we had those rehearsals, Ariana.
Yeah.
And that really, you don't get that opportunity a lot with TV and film. And I think it's such a necessary, I wish it happened so much more because it's just, we all come in with anxiety just in the project alone. And it really kind of begins to tear that down to just be a little more grounded in it.
Definitely.
Yeah, and Tony, for you, obviously, so many people will know you for your iconic comedy roles. And while there is a sense of humor in your character, he's also a serious guy. And at times it feels like he's got a very dark sense of humor. So for you coming into this as an actor, an original sci-fi project, was it interesting for you to get to explore some different sides of yourself in that way? I know you have in other projects, but particularly in this genre.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's doing a job like this is always any job's a gift, but like this kind of these themes and this character and this, I was saying before earlier that this was particularly, I would say scary because the questions never stopped. Like it was just, the film is really kind of about living in the question. And I felt like we were constantly living in the question. Just like, where are we? what's going on? Like, it was just this, but it was this really beautiful tension throughout that carried over into the film, I think. So it was not bad tension, but just always asking questions. And so it was pretty unique, honestly.
Awesome. And David and Arianna, you get to, without spoiling anything, you get to be part of two really beautiful sequences near the end of the film with the beach and the bike ride. So what were those like to shoot? Because the way they were put together in the film itself is so clever, but I can imagine that was the case with shooting as well.
I got to watch David be shot a bit, and even watching that was really magical. Listen, shooting the bicycle scene is something I will never ever forget. It was a very long process, longer than you might think, and my legs were really in shape afterwards. But unforgettable with both Winston and Benny, physically doing the staging, the work as we were shooting. Yeah, it's indescribable. It was an indescribable experience, and I think it really translates well to the scene.
Yeah, we shot in sequence too, so we got to experience that stuff when we were supposed to, and I think allowing that to, I came in with preconceived notions, but then seeing the set for the first time and just going into my child play self, and I'm like I'm just gonna play and see what that feels like, and not try to be right or try to be profound. I'm just gonna play and see what that feels like,
And of course, Tony, your character, again, without spoiling anything, he doesn't get one of those moments. So was that something you and Edson talked a lot about, so you could understand why your character acts the way he does in that particular part of the film?
Yeah, I seem to remember, this is what was kind of beautiful about Edson. There was a real collaborative energy with Edson. And there was this is where my memory is shot, but I feel like the original thing, things like him tearing up, well, I can't give it away, but like tearing up the paper that Will hands, I don't think that was in the original story. But things like, there was just this kind of discovery happening that was very different than when going in. So I really appreciated that. That does not happen. And this is, I'm always amazed when I hear that Edson's a first-time director, because he was so, he just had an assurance to him and a calmness to him, and allowed actors to discover with him. And not typically, but a lot of first-time directors has a real control because there's an anxiety attached to it and it has to be this way. And Edson just had none of that. It was a very open, free environment, which was beautiful.
Amazing. And one final question for you, Tony. I've got young nephews, so I have to ask, is there more Forky on the horizon for you?
Oh, sure. I would love that. Are you kidding? Talk about questions. That's all Forky asked, was just questions. He just asked a ton of questions. I'd love to keep asking questions, whether it be 9 Days or Toy Story. Let's keep asking them. Keep asking them.
Fingers crossed. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for your time. You're all terrific in the film, and it's such a special movie. I cannot wait for people to see it. So thank you again.
Oh, thanks, Josh.